Is Claude 4.5 Opus the best coding model ever? Everyone says Claude Opus 4.5 is the best coding AI ever made. So I tested it myself to see if that's actually true. I gave it impossible coding tasks. Some worked perfectly and some totally failed. Let me show you what really happened. All right, so everyone on the internet is saying Claude Opus 4.5 is the greatest coding AI ever built. Best reasoning, best context, best everything. But I don't trust hype, I trust results. So today I'm testing it. I'm giving it 7 real coding challenges, building actual apps, and I'm showing you exactly what works and what doesn't. No BS, no fake demos, just raw results. And stick around because test number 5 completely shocked me. The app actually worked better than I expected, but test number 3 was a total disaster. I'll show you both. Let's start with what Claude Opus 4.5 actually claims to be. According to Anthropic, it's their smartest model. It has a 200,000 token context window. That means it can remember massive amounts of code at once. It also has thinking block preservation that's supposed to help it stay focused on long tasks. And there's this effort parameter where you can tell it to think harder or faster depending on what you need. Plus, it has computer use abilities. It can zoom into screens, automate browsers, click buttons, basically act like a real developer working on your computer. Sounds amazing, right? But does it actually work? That's what we're testing today. So here's my plan. I've got 7 prompts. Each one asks Claude to build a different SaaS tool: task managers, URL shorteners, chatbots, CRMs, real apps that people actually use. I'm going to paste each prompt into Claude Opus 4.5. Then I'm going to take the code it gives me and try to run it. If it works, great. If it breaks, I'll show you exactly where it failed. No editing, no cherry picking, just honest testing. Test number 1, I asked Claude to build a complete task manager app: registration, login, task creation, editing, deletion, backend in Node.js, frontend in React. I pasted the prompt. Claude started writing code, and let me tell you, it gave me a ton of code, multiple files, database setup, API endpoints, front end components, everything. So I copied all the files, set up the folders, ran npm install, started the server, and guess what? It worked. The registration page loaded. I created an account, logged in, created tasks, edited them, deleted them. Everything functioned exactly like it was supposed to. I was honestly shocked. This was a full working app from one prompt. Test number 1 passed. Now, before we keep going, let me talk about something real quick. Test number 2, URL shortener, serverless, REST API, Python, Fast API, AWS Lambda, plus a web interface. Claude gave me the code. I set it up locally, first to test the API, created a virtual environment, installed Fast API, ran the server. The API worked perfectly. I could create short URLs, I could retrieve them. The web interface was basic but functional. It wasn't pretty, but it did the job. Now, deploying to AWS Lambda was a different story. Claude gave me instructions, but they were a bit vague. I had to figure out some of the AWS setup myself, but the core code was solid. Test number 2 mostly passed. Test number 3, this is where things got interesting. I asked for a Slack chatbot that answers FAQs, backend in Python and Flask. Claude wrote the code, gave me deployment steps, told me how to connect to Slack. I followed everything exactly. And it didn't work. The bot wouldn't connect to Slack. I checked the code. The API tokens were in the right place. The endpoints looked correct, but something was off. I spent 20 minutes debugging. Turns out Claude used an outdated Slack API method. The code was from an older version of the Slack SDK. I had to manually update it to get it working. Once I fixed that, the bot worked fine, but straight out of the box, test number 3 failed. And this is important. Claude Opus 4.5 is powerful, but it's not perfect. Sometimes it uses outdated libraries. Sometimes it makes assumptions that aren't true. You still need to know enough to debug when things break. Test number 4, automated newsletter sender. Upload CSV emails, compose message, send via SMTP, JavaScript, and Node.js. I tested this one and it worked pretty well. The CSV upload worked. The email composition worked. The SMTP connection worked. I sent test emails to myself and they arrived. The only issue was error handling. If you uploaded a broken CSV file, the app would crash instead of showing an error message, but that's an easy fix. Overall, test number 4 passed. Test number 5, simple CRM app, customer management, notes, reminders, Django backend, Bootstrap frontend. This one blew me away. I pasted the prompt. Claude gave me the code. I set up Django, ran migrations, started the server, and it was beautiful. The interface looked clean. The database structure made sense. I could add customers, add notes, set reminders. Everything worked smoothly. This was honestly better than some paid CRM tools I've seen. The code was organized, the comments were helpful. If you're a small business owner, you could literally use this app as is. Test number 5 crushed it. Test number 6, sales pipeline automation agent, pulls leads from Google Sheets, scores them by keywords, emails reports. I set this one up and ran into problems immediately. Claude assumed I had Google Sheets API credentials already configured. The instructions for setting up the API were missing. I had to go to Google Cloud Console myself, enable the Sheets API, download credentials, add them to the project. Claude should have walked me through that. Once the API was connected, the agent worked. It pulled leads, scored them, sent emails. But the setup was way harder than it should have been. Test number 6 half passed. Test number 7, personal finance dashboard, connects to Plaid API, pulls bank transactions, categorizes expenses, shows charts, React and Express. This was the most complex test. And I'll be honest, it was a mixed bag. The React front end looked great, the charts were clean, the categorization logic made sense, but connecting to Plaid was a nightmare. You need a Plaid developer account, you need to get approved, you need API keys, and the free tier has limits. Claude gave me the code for Plaid integration, but it didn't explain the account setup process. I had to figure that out myself. And when I finally got it working, the transaction data didn't categorize perfectly. It was close, but not perfect. So test number 7, it worked, but it needed a lot of manual setup, not a complete pass. Let me summarize the results. Out of 7 tests, 3 worked perfectly out of the box. 2 worked with minor fixes, and 2 needed significant debugging and setup. That's a 43% perfect success rate. That's actually pretty good for AI-generated code, but it's not the 100% magic everyone on the internet claims. Here's what I learned from testing Claude Opus 4.5. First, it's really good at generating working code. The logic is solid, the structure is clean. If you have basic coding knowledge, you can take what Claude gives you and run with it. Second, it struggles with setup and configuration, API credentials, environment variables, third-party service setup. Claude assumes you know how to do that stuff. If you don't, you'll get stuck. Third, it sometimes uses outdated libraries or methods. That Slack bot failure, that was because Claude used old code. You need to verify the libraries are current. Fourth, the context window is legitimately amazing. I pasted entire project requirements and Claude remembered everything. That 200,000 token window is real and it makes a huge difference. Fifth, the effort parameter actually works. When I set it to high effort, the code quality improved, more comments, better error handling, more thought put into edge cases. So is Claude Opus 4.5 the best coding model ever? I'd say it's the best I've tested, but it's not magic. It's a tool, a powerful tool, but you still need to know enough to debug, configure, and deploy. If you're a complete beginner with zero coding knowledge, you'll struggle with some of these apps. But if you have basic understanding, Claude will save you hours of work